Hi, Wranglers. This is Dr. Sellers with another Wonderful Fact Wednesday. And today, on our Wonderful Fact Wednesday, since it's Food and Cooking Week, we're going to be talking about systems of measurement. Measurement has been around for ages. It was originally only used for mass, length, area, and volume, but now we also include temperature, luminosity, pressure, and electric current in our measurements. A measurement has to have an accurate, reliable standard with an agreed upon unit so that everybody knows what they're buying or what they're getting or how to make something. The unit is the name of a quantity in measurement. So when we are measuring, we want you to label your unit. And also in a word problem, it's good to put out what the unit is so that you're labeling correctly what the answer is. Measurement systems could be evolutionary or planned. So for many, many, many hundreds of years, they were evolutionary, meaning they were passed along, changed over time, updated consistently. But now we have planned measurement, where we have these very agreed upon standards by which other things are compared and measured. Measurement actually started with the Egyptian cubit, which is that black granite that's pictured there. It was the length of the arm from the elbow to the extended fingertips, but I'm sure you can imagine not everybody has that same length of arm. And so then they created that black granite piece, which became the cubit. And then it was broken into smaller pieces and named different units based on being smaller than the cubit, and then also multiplied for bigger units. We have two systems in our world for measuring, and we have the U.S. Customary System, which was based originally on the British system that came with us to America. And then also the metric system, which is basically used by the rest of the world because of its advantages, which we'll talk about later. So the U.S. Customary System was originally discussed officially in 1790 by George Washington, and him realizing that we needed to have a standard system, especially for commerce, like trade and purchasing things from each other. In 1821, when John Adams was the Secretary of State, he recognized the worthiness of the metric system, but also the impossibility of adopting it in the United States compared to the system we got from the British. In 1866, there was the Metric Act, which permitted the use of the metric system in the United States. And then in 1901, they established the National Bureau of Standards so that we could create uniformity of the standards and units in our customary system for the whole United States and for all of our states to use. So some of the units of measure in our customary system should be ones that you're familiar with, like the ton, the pound, the ounce. For liquid, it's gallons, quarts, and pints. In length or distance, it's mile, yard, foot, and inch. And for areas, it's a square mile, an acre, a square yard, or a square foot. And then for volume, we have cubic yards, cubic feet, and cubic inches. And much of this U.S. customary system is built on the numbers 4, 8, 12, 16, but even the number 3, like when you're converting feet to yards. So those numbers sometimes are related to each other, but sometimes aren't. Now, the metric system of measurement was actually developed by European scientists near the time of the French Revolution. And France began that movement, and then it spread to other nations. Ironically, a nation would adopt this new system typically after a conflict or some change in their government. But now it's almost universally employed in the scientific and medical professions. Everything is within the metric system, which again is what most of the rest of the world is using. So units of measure in the metric system are the mass. For mass are grams, kilograms, and actually a metric ton. For liquids, it's liters and milliliters, length, centimeters, meters, kilometers. You may have also heard of in area square meters and square kilometers, and in volume, cubic meters and cubic centimeters. So you're going to see a lot of the same words and a lot of the same affixes because this system is based on the number 10, ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, and that's what actually makes it an easier system to use than the U.S. customary system because it's in multiples of 10. So the official name for that metric system is now called the International System of Units. And so you can see that the names are there for length, area, volume, weight, then capacity, and also temperature, which is degrees Celsius. And we don't actually speak in Celsius in the United States, we speak in Fahrenheit. If we say it's going to be 86 degrees outside, then it's 86 degrees Fahrenheit, which is different than Celsius. So, for example, freezing in Fahrenheit is 32 degrees, whereas freezing in Celsius is 0 degrees. And it's really helpful because boiling in Celsius is 100 degrees. So again, that metric system or the international system of units uses 1, 10, 100, 1,000, all those multiples of 10 to increase in measurement. So it's very helpful system. Alas, we still use our system, which is super helpful for cooking. And we also need to know what we call equivalents for cooking. So we have our cooking measurements, teaspoons, which is a little t, sp, or the lowercase t, tablespoons, which is a capital T, cups, which is a capital C, ounces, which is OZ, and milliliters, which is ML. And you can see in the two charts that I put there that it does go equivalent. So sometimes if you look for a recipe, like maybe on Pinterest or something else, you might see a recipe from another country like England, and they will be measuring things in ounces and grams and milliliters, unlike us still using teaspoons, tablespoons, and cups. And then I also put a basic cooking conversion chart. And if you love cooking and baking, this can be helpful if you don't have the exact measuring tool that you would need for a recipe. This tells you the equivalents. We love cooking and baking at our house, so we're constantly looking at our measuring tools. So look in my newsletter today for more examples of ways you can get to know measurement and equivalent measurements in a very fun way. All right, Wranglers, have a wonderful, wonderful Fact Wednesday. Happy trails.